He is a holy, holy, majestic, powerful God. Gives them plans for the courtyard that surrounds the tabernacle. He also breaks it down even for what the priests have to wear. They just can't put on any kind of robe. There's certain things, certain measurements, certain colors, certain fabric that the priests have to wear if they are going to enter into the presence of the Almighty, holy God. This is no light thing here. Even the jewelry, the things that the priests had hanging around their necks, everything was so precise. And then we come to Exodus chapter 29, starting there in verse 35. Again, the instructions continue. And then God says this. This is how you will ordain Aaron. Aaron was Moses' brother. This is how you will ordain Aaron and his sons to their offices, just as I have commanded you. The ordination ceremony will go on for 7 days. Those of you who have participated or have witnessed or sat in an ordination ceremony or service here, could you imagine sitting in that for 7 days? That would be crazy. Each day you must sacrifice a young bull as a sin offering to purify them, making them right with the Lord. Afterward, cleanse the altar by purifying it. Make it holy by anointing it with oil. Purify the altar and consecrate it every day for 7 days. After that, the altar will be absolutely holy, and whatever touches it will become holy. These are the sacrifices you are to offer regularly on the altar. Each day, offer 2 lambs that are a year old, one in the morning and the other in the evening. With one of them, offer 2 quarts of choice flour mix. With 1 quart of pure oil of pressed olives, also offer 1 quart of wine as a liquid offering. Offer the other lamb in the evening, along with the same offerings of flour and wine as in the morning. It will be a pleasing aroma, a special gift presented to the Lord. Are you tracking all this? Because we're about to enter into the Lord's presence. If you have ADD, this is not the role that you should have. Because you have to pay very close attention to the instructions that God is giving you. These burnt offerings are to be made each day from generation to generation. Offer them in the Lord's presence at the tabernacle entrance. There I will meet with you and speak with you. I will meet the people of Israel there in the place made holy by my glorious presence. Yes, I will consecrate the tabernacle. What does tabernacle mean again? Dwelling, the tent. There I will consecrate the tabernacle and the altar, and I will consecrate Aaron and his sons to serve me as priests. Verse 45, what are those next 2 words? Then I. You get this other part right, Israel. Then I will be present among you. You get this other part right. Then I will live among the people of Israel and be their God. I am the one who brought them out of the land of Egypt so that I could live among them. I am the Lord their God. Now listen, anyone else feeling overwhelmed by reading this? I'm not even there, and I feel the weight, the burden that these priests and that the people of Israel felt that they had. I mean, can you imagine the weight of it all? The fear, the burden? And so thank God for verses like this. You have not come to a physical mountain, to a place of flaming fire, darkness, gloom, and whirlwind, as the Israelites did at Mount Sinai, where they heard an awesome trumpet blast and a voice so terrible that they begged God to stop speaking. They staggered back under God's command. If even an animal touches the mountain, it must be stoned to death. Moses himself was so frightened at the sight that he said, I am terrified and trembling. The writer of Hebrews says to these Christians, he says, no, you have come to Mount Zion, to the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem, and to countless thousands of angels in a joyful gathering. You have come to the assembly of God's firstborn children whose names are written in heaven. You have come to God himself, who is the judge over all things. You have come to the spirits of the righteous ones in heaven who have now been made perfect. You have come to Jesus. That's why we can worship as Gentiles, as non-Jews. We have come to Jesus, the one who mediates the new covenant between God and people into the sprinkled blood, which speaks of forgiveness instead of crying out for vengeance like the blood of Abel. What is the writer of Hebrews saying? He's saying that we can worship confidently, boldly, in the presence of God, not because we have our dress right, not because we have our style of worship right, not because our building is all right. It's because Jesus, listen, Jesus has made us right. Isn't that great news? Listen, I don't know what problems you have. I don't know what burdens you carry. I don't know what sin you're wrestling with. I don't know what your conscience is telling you right now. But you're in the presence of God. Hallelujah. And the fact that He hasn't struck any of us down, it speaks magnificently about God's grace and about His love. Why is He not striking us down now? It's because Jesus, His one and only Son, died for us. He shed His blood for us, and He made a way for us sinners to enter into the presence of God. He made a way for us sinners to be able to come here and to celebrate and to sing and to worship with confidence and boldness. And so a millennium and a half later, 1,400 years later, God would reveal His holiness once again, His power, His greatness, His majesty, and worthiness of worship through another way. It wasn't by way of giving instructions to the priests on what they should wear or giving the dimensions of how long and how wide the tabernacle had to be. What does tabernacle mean again? Dwelling. Thank you. He would demonstrate His power and His holiness and His majesty through another way. A way people could still relate to. They could touch, they could see, they could hear without being consumed. But this wasn't with fire, and it wasn't with smoke. It wasn't with a warning to not approach the mountain. This way was with Himself. God became man so that we could see more fully who He is. The tabernacle was not enough. The offering, slaughtering bulls and goats and all these, and pouring wine out on the altar, none of that was enough. It didn't take away our sin. It didn't take away our guilt. So He came, and He Himself would be enough. He is the God of love, the God of peace and joy and faithfulness. So He became man so that we could see more fully who He is. And that's why the writer again in Hebrews says, the old system under the law, the old system is what we're reading about in Exodus. The old system under the law of Moses was only a shadow. It wasn't the real thing. It was only a shadow, a dim preview of the good things to come, not the good things themselves. The sacrifices under that system, under the Moses' system, were repeated again and again, year after year, but they were never able to provide perfect cleansing. How many of us need perfect cleansing? Amen. They were never able to provide perfect cleansing for those who came to worship. So they had to continually offer up bulls and goats and everything else. If they could have provided perfect cleansing, the sacrifices would have stopped. For the worshipers, are we all worshipers? Amen. The worshipers would have been purified once for all time, and their feelings of guilt would have disappeared. Amen. But instead, those sacrifices actually reminded them of their sins year after year, for it is not possible for the blood of bulls and goats to take away sins. Skip on down to verse 8. First, Christ said, you do not want, talking to God the Father, you do not want animal sacrifices or sin offerings or burnt offerings or other offerings for sin, nor were you pleased with them, though they are required by the law of Moses. Then He said, look, I have come to do your will. He cancels the first covenant, what we read about in Exodus. He canceled the first covenant in order to put the second into effect. For God's will was for us to be made holy by the sacrifice, say that with me, of the body of Jesus Christ once for all time.